Welcome to Assembly Calendar. I'm Ted Flint. With us today, Assemblyman Greg Ball, who serves the 99th Assembly District, which includes Putnam, Dutchess, and Westchester counties.
Yes, sir.
Assemblyman Ball, nice to have you.
Good to be here.
What a show we have for you today. Jam-packed.
Is
all
it?
All kinds of stuff. We're going to start talking about global warming.
It's getting hot. It's getting a little hot in here.
It is. It's
just feeling warm.
It's a little. I'm feeling a little tighter on the collar.
Pretty soon we're not going to be able to go out on the icebergs with the
polar ice caps are
and
melting. I'm losing sleep over.
Actually,
that.
you should have just caught me. Penguins are only in the South Pole. They have puffins in the North Pole.
Is that right?
That's true.
We could do a whole show on that.
Yeah.
Not today, though.
Maybe wrong about that actually, but I think I'm right.
We're going to talk about global warming to start. We'll hit some gun bills, which, of course, I know you're against all
firearm
those bills.
Firearm bills. The liberals call them guns.
Anti-firearm bills.
That's right.
And in the middle, we're going to discuss the offshoring of jobs, IBM
Sure.
in the process of doing that. First, let's talk about global warming and this bill that came up. Your overall views on global warming. Viscerally, are you opposed to legislation or?
No, we have to, the United States of America has one of the largest carbon footprints in the world. We have to do everything that we can to make sure that we minimize that carbon footprint, and we are. The problem is that as we sit here right now, and as the United States of America takes a lead position on limiting our carbon footprint, there are nearly 1 billion people in both China and India, folks who, if they walked, they're getting a bicycle. If they're on a bicycle, they're getting a moped. If they have a moped, they're getting a car. And if they have a car, they're getting a bigger car. So there are going to be 1 billion new cars on the marketplace that don't meet our carbon emission standards probably within the next 10 years. That's a problem. And the United States of America, we can be the apologetic American, go around the world and say the reason why polar bears are not going to be able to stay on the ice and are going to have no place to rest is because the United States of America. We can say that, but we better get a grip pretty quick and realize that the United States of America is the greatest country this world has ever known. We are taking a leadership role on limiting our carbon footprint, but we have to find a way to leverage our consumer economy to make other nations that are less hospitable to the global climate crisis, to make them do the right thing.
Sure.
And we're not necessarily doing that. And it's very easy to stand with a Starbucks cup wearing your what do you call them, the shoes, the Birks, the clogs or whatever they are, and say, poor America, we're not doing enough. There are more trees right now in many counties in the Northeast than there were at the turn of the last century because of the clear cutting that we did. We have instituted a great many policies where we have seen endangered species come back from the brink, where we are really providing amazing support for microclimates, and we really are doing an awful lot to limit our emissions. While other nations that are in developing phases similar to what we were a couple hundred years ago are not learning from our mistakes. And that's what we have to do. That's where we need to be a leader, because there's a lot that other nations can learn from our mistakes and where we went wrong.
Okay, let's take a look at some of your comments on the floor on the global warming issue, and then we're back with Assemblyman Greg Ball.
I will never forget the couple of months that I actually spent overseas in a country called India, and watching a growing middle class. And even so, the United States of America has a large carbon footprint. There's no doubt about that. As we stand here today right now, and we believe that as Americans we have complete control over this globe and this universe, I want you all to know that the individuals in places like India and China, those folks who walk are getting bikes, the folks who bike are getting mopeds, the people who have mopeds are getting cars, and the people who have enough money to have cars are getting bigger cars. That's 1 billion cars that are going to be on the market within the next 10 years. So as we sit here in this chamber and we try to find ways to do everything we can to reduce our carbon footprint, we better find ways as a New York State legislature to leverage our consumer economy, which is one of the largest in the United States of America, to bring about better and more environmentally sensible policies in other parts of the world. And having one of the largest consumer economies within the United States, we can do that. But if we don't do that, we don't address that much larger issue, as our economy and our population begins to plateau, we're going to be in an awful lot of trouble. Because as powerful as we think we are, there are developing nations around this world that are going through the very same developing processes that we did, but not in exactly the same expedited time frame. We're talking about 1 billion mopeds, 1 billion cars, and a carbon footprint that's going to make America look like nothing. I'll be voting yes, but keep that in the back of your mind. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
All right, on to IBM. We touched on this briefly last show, the IBM and its offshoring of jobs. You're concerned there's a long-term approach and they could be using taxpayer dollars to do this.
IBM is one of the largest employers in the Hudson Valley, and we have to do everything we can to keep them in the Hudson Valley, along with the other large corporations that are in the Hudson Valley. And as a Republican, but as a New Yorker, I think it's important to understand why have we created as a state such an openly hostile business environment that corporations like IBM are finding it within their interest to leave not only New York State but the United States of America. We need to understand that so we can begin to hopefully reverse the trend and create a more hospitable environment here. That said, you have a large multinational corporation that literally within the last year and a half has accepted over $100 million at the taxpayer expense. And while they are negotiating sweetheart deals, in my opinion, with the governor, with the legislature, but specifically with the governor, they, as a component, a pervasive component of their business model, are offshoring tens of thousands of jobs to India. And actually, when I was over on the subcontinent, I knew at that time that IBM was expanding hundreds of thousands of square feet. They have tens of thousands of jobs. And the point is this, the point is not to beat up on IBM necessarily, but if they're going to ask us for $145 million to keep jobs here, and they're contemporaneously shifting tens of thousands of jobs overseas, the question arises, are they using hundreds of millions of dollars to help support that business model? Mm-hmm. And we need an investigation into that. I've asked Chairman Brodsky, the majority member who has found it in his interest to go after the Yankees, which really has no oversight on whatsoever. Chairman Brodsky has never had a hard time finding a TV camera or a phone, and I'm one to talk. Hasn't even returned a phone call to hold a hearing on the issue. And we're talking about tens of thousands of jobs over the past few years and moving forward. This is a really big deal. Yeah. And IBM made a promise that they would keep jobs here. They kept to the letter of the law and kept those jobs for a year after accepting like $50 million. And then a couple of months later said, okay, we don't have to keep those jobs here anymore, and announced not only outsourcing, but offshoring. They're actually have no intention whatsoever of bringing these people back on board. These jobs are lost forever.
Mm-hmm. Okay. On to the gun bills. We
Sure.
have a few pieces of tape for you to get to with you speaking about the gun bills. First of all, your overall views of the package. You're a vocal opponent of these anti-firearms bills.
Unless you are an extremely liberal New York City voter, you are not well represented in this state. If you're an independent, if you're a reformer, if you're a conservative, if you're a Republican, this legislature in this state is not doing good by you or your family. It's very upsetting. No matter what the initiative is to pass the New York State Assembly, it's always to the extreme. Politics of polarization at either side. If this were a Republican-run state and we allowed the extreme conservatives to really push legislation through the throat of the Assembly at a whim, that would be wrong. And this has happened on the exact opposite side. We have a Second Amendment. We have a Constitution in the United States of America. And there can be debates back and forth about all the social initiatives that they're trying to push through. But those social initiatives are not necessarily protected by any amendment in the United States Constitution. The right to keep and bear arms is. Mm-hmm. And the problem is that, the real focus should be going after illegal firearms, right? Illegal guns, and illegal purchases, and going after criminals. But that's not the focus in this state because that would require tough work. Instead, they go after legal gun owners, sportsmen, and legal firearms. Okay.
This one speaks of the toy gun issue. You want to set this up? You want to just look at it and
comment? Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Let's take a look at it.
Let's take a look at Greg Ball on the